It's the system that's not efficient. So if you think about the whole machine, the whole organisation, every time we, sit for 2 hours going through our emails in our inbox, that's batching. Every time, purchasing or finance is going through all delivery receipts or lead forms, or you're sitting there going through all your emails, it's all batching. It's all localized efficiency.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Lean Solutions Podcast. My name is Shayne. In the studio with me here today is Andy. Andy, brother, how are you doing?
I'm tip-top, mate. How you going? It's been a while and great to be back on with you again.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. And I'm very excited about today's topic. As nerdy as that sounds, today's topic is about batching. And this is something that, I'm sure that in your work, you've also had different conversations with people trying to explain how when we're talking about lean, batching is not a good thing. But I'm very interested in this because batching is one of those things we do on every day on the regular. Like I batch how I do dishes. I batch how I fold my laundry, or how I do my laundry at least. I batch how I do lawn work. There's so many things that we batch, and it just makes sense to us in batching. But there's a different way of looking at it. And I'm very excited about who we're going to have on today. And I'm just going to let you take it from here.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, really exciting. It seems one of those things when you first look at it, it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's better to do it all at once, and it's more efficient. We can see lots of things happening at once.
Right.
Well, it looks that way. But I won't wax on about that. I'm going to bring on my mate, Jimmy, James Martin. All right. So great to have a fellow Australian on the podcast today. And I met Jimmy a few years ago, and really have been a keen follower of his work and some of the different methods and tools and industries he's been working in. But where he's at today, Jimmy is the Continuous Improvement Program Manager at SRA Solutions, and he works closely with senior leadership to drive strategic growth, operational excellence, and business transformation across the whole organisation. And I've seen it. I've been there. It's a fantastic facility, and his role includes mentoring and coaching the management team, supporting strategy, deployment, and execution. Obviously, he's leading a fantastic lean adoption and program there, and really cool small scale, but also the big hitters, the high impact continuous improvement initiatives across the business. So I'm just thrilled that he was keen to come along. And Jimmy, great to have you here, mate. How you going?
Thank you very much, Andy and Shayne. It's great opportunity. Thank you very much for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure, mate. Our pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's batching's a great topic, and what I wanted to try and talk about today is just the not just the shop floor impact and what you can see, but how you can really look at extreme anti-batching or pro-flow, as some people like to say. It's all about flow. Make it flow like a river. One of my old bosses used to say that all the time. How do you make it flow like a river? So not just on the factory, but throughout the whole organisation to execute the strategy. That's our philosophy, and it can be really challenging because, as you said, Shayne, it's a normal human behaviour to batch because it's that localized efficiency, and all the machines and everything in the world set up to batch, but it's actually bad. And we read about it in all the books say, don't batch, anti-batching, don't do it. So I wanted to try and, well, you know me, Andy, I try to be very practical. So I've got trying to articulate hopefully today some stories that can really resonate with people, so they can see the impact of some real life examples of batching and why it's bad, and how extreme you can take this thinking, because you can really get into it if you push anti-batching hard.
So take us to a specific time where you watched batching. I don't know. Did it quietly wreck a team's flow? I mean, you talked about, hey, we're trying to be pro flow here. So can you take us to a time when batching did the opposite of flow? What happened on the ground and what tipped you off that it was the batching that was the problem and not the people or the process?
Yeah. So I'm going to wind back to the 90s.
Whoa,
I
easy,
sorry,
easy.
mate. I don't remember that. I'm too young for that.
Yeah, fair enough, Andy. Fair enough. I was really lucky. Part of my manufacturing degree, I don't think they offer it in Australia anymore, but they actually had a degree around manufacturing. So I was all focused on that. And there was this subject called lean. And I was a young uni student, had no idea what this lean stuff is. What does that mean? No idea. Anyway, I really loved it. And I ended up doing my thesis to attain my degree with Wilson Transformers, and it was to get rid of batching. So, and that
Wow.
was such a fantastic opportunity with Wilson Transformers. I was supposed to just work there for a few months, and I ended up working there for 7 months and got right into this project. But we eliminated batching in ovens for baking and cooking the coils in the transformers,
Okay.
and they thought of this really awesome innovation where they could connect up DC current to the taps on the windings and heat them with the current going through the windings. So they connect all the taps together because you'd have various taps coming out of a coil,
Sure.
and you put them in a press, and you could actually, instead of waiting 14 hours overnight. So this is your question, Shane. Where can you see the impact? Well,
Yeah.
you couldn't finish making a transformer. You had to make a whole bunch of coils ready for the next day to put into the transformer to fill it with oil and test it and blah blah blah. So the process had to stop. We had
Right.
to fill up the oven, turn the oven on, cook them overnight, come back in the morning, then take them out of the oven. Then, I mean, if anything had gone wrong with the oven or something, you got this whole batch that are they
The whole
cooked
batch is
properly?
shot.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's not just the waiting, there's all that risk because you've got everything, all your day's work rolling over to the next day. So if anything goes wrong, what are you going to do the next day?
Yeah.
And they changed that process from 14 hours to as little as 1.5 hours to 3 hours. So it was an incredible transformation. So we literally tripled the output of that line in a third of the space that it took. It was just an amazing transformation. It's such a great project to work on, and that really set the tone for me. Uh, from there on, everywhere I worked, I was looking for one of those great wins because I had such a great experience there.
I think you've nailed it there too, Jimmy. With you've got that whole batch, and if something goes wrong, the previous day's work, like all of that, yeah, you might be able to get it all done at once and out the door at once. But if something goes wrong or picking up that quality issue, the whole thing at least has to be set aside. And if it's major, well, then that whole thing is gone, right? Instead of that small, simple, incremental, flying
Yeah,
it through in smaller parts. So it's
yeah.
a real passion killer, and it definitely demonstrates. So how was the, I guess, the workforce reaction when you're putting this up? It would have been quite, well, that's not how we've done it, or no, it's got to take that long, and if it doesn't dry out properly and all that sort of stuff. So how was the initial convo with the team, and how you pitched that, and then just, I mean, how did you convince leadership to let you give it a crack?
I just wanted to tell a story about mutos. What are mutos? I better
Yeah.
explain this.
I have no idea what a muto is.
Yeah, neither did I. Multi-user telecommunication outlet. So it's a little metal box. It's got a clear cover on it. It's for defence and those kind of government agencies for running telecommunications. So it's all transparent, so you can see, so you can make sure there's no one's implanted any extra sort of telecommunication cables or bugs or
Okay.
whatever in the system. So we make a lot of these products. We made When we had orders, we'd have orders for 200, 400, 600, 300. So quite a few. And they would make 200 at a time. So why do we make 200 at a time? That's the first question. Why 200? That's how many fit in the oven. So boom, I'm straight away
Okay.
thinking back to the Wilsons, going, okay, it makes sense. You're making 200 at a time because that's how many fit in the powder coat oven. So you want to maximize the efficiency of that oven. So that whole setup was okay. Well, how do I convince these guys that this team? So we went through the theory and we go through all the lean thinking and batching, and I've got an example on on the whiteboard with maths and minutes, and if you do single piece flow, how quickly you can get the first one, and then the first 10 and the first 50, blah blah blah. That's all good, but it doesn't really. We learn by doing. We don't learn by looking at someone do maths on a whiteboard about the theory of single piece flow. So Jamie was really great, the GM over there. He goes, well, okay. So he questions the team, and he goes, team, how many fit on a sheet? So when we went, the first operation is to punch the metal from a sheet. And they go, yeah, we punched 36 off a sheet. Okay, well let's just make 36. Let's make a batch of 36 instead of 200. Okay, let's just give it a go, and let's just see how it flows through the shop. So anyway, they do this. They load one sheet in, punch 36, and then that goes straight to fold, and they fold 36, and then it goes to the next stage, which is welding, and then it goes to the next stage, which is powder coating, and then there's assembly and nuts and bolts and a bit of assembly, and then packing and shipping. So normally it would take, for 200, it takes 10 days, 2 weeks. So they'll tell the customer, okay, 2 weeks, yep, you can have 200 mutos. They tried it with 36. They had 108 made in 3 days. 3 days. And then they'd finished in the 5 days. They'd had them all done. So they actually rang the customer after 3 days and said, oh, we got the first 108. If you want to take the first 108 or 100 earlier, you can. And the customer said, oh, what, really? Yeah. and then because they're all different colors, so you don't want to make these to stock. So obviously we avoid that too. We don't want to have stock of these things because they're all different colors and slightly different accessories and bits and pieces. So, and then the comments from the team afterwards when we regrouped and rediscussed it just flowed through the shop so easily. So you're not punching 200 and having big stacks of sheet metal parts on a trolley. Then it's really unwieldy and hard to move the trolley, and then you move a stack because you don't want all that in the way in front of the press brake to fold them, and it's just all that waste of moving, double handling, strain, muter, all that. You're just eliminating so much of that and so much time. So basically, it was a third of the labor time to do it because you've eliminated all that waste. So that was just a great way, but it took buy-in from the leadership team to give it a go. But if you can do something like that and you have a good experience and everyone wins and everyone has a positive experience about it, then you're sold. It's done.
So there's a couple things here that I'm picking up. You kind of spoke to how you try to win over the hearts of those that have always done it this way, and you're asking them how that worked out was simply by asking them questions. Hey, how many is this? So, and then also by then experimenting and asking them, hey, what if we did this? What would happen if we did this? And having that freedom to be able to experiment, is amazing. But you've also mentioned buy-in from leadership. And so the question that I have with this is, what are some of the misconceptions, some of the biggest misconceptions leadership has about batching? Because batching, it just feels more efficient. Like if I'm going to fold my socks, I'm going to find all the socks, pull them all together, and then I'm going to fold them all together. And then, maybe the next batch of whatever, shirts or whatever it is, it just feels more efficient. So what are some misconceptions that you've seen that leadership has around batching?
Yeah. So that's great, Shayne. And what I say to them is that's true. It is more efficient for you. For you, it is. You're absolutely right. It's the system that's not efficient. So if you think about the whole machine, the whole organization, every time we, sit for 2 hours going through our emails in our inbox, that's batching. Every time, purchasing or finance is going through all delivery receipts or leave forms, or you're sitting there going through all your emails, down to the factory nesting all the parts on a sheet because we don't want to waste any sheet metal. It's all batching. It's all localized efficiency. If I'm a server rack, which we manufacture, has 4 verticals and a top and a bottom.
Okay.
We punch all the parts, and if I'm on the press brake, I actually have to change the tooling from when I'm folding a vertical to a top and a bottom. So I fold the 4 verticals, and then they're ready for the next step, which is to weld the 4 verticals in the top and the bottom. But then if I'm as a localized efficiency, if I finish those 4 and I've got the tops and the bottoms sitting there, I know they need it, but I see that the cell 1, the cell in front of me, has already punched the next 4 verticals.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go, well, I've already set up the machine. I've got that program here. This is way more efficient for me to just walk over into cell 1, grab those other verticals and fold those 4 as well. But what you've just done then is just killed the next guy's time. And that's multiplied by all the cells.
Oh,
So
okay.
the fabricator can't make a rack. He's got 8 verticals but no tops and bottoms now. So he can't do anything. So you've just stopped the flow. So yes, it was better for me because I've done more work and I'm watching the machine work and make stuff. So that's great, right? Because
So you feel productive.
yeah. I'm pumping through all these parts. I'm doing.
You are
awesome.
hitting your numbers.
I'm doing my job.
Great.
I'm doing my job, mate. Look down there. They're just standing around. What are they doing?
That's right. That's right. That's right. What are they doing down there? Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is things just backing up?
Yeah, and then the welder's in the fab bay just twiddling his thumbs, going, "Well, I can't weld anything together. I can't make a rack."
Because I don't have all the parts. Right.
And then if you push that back to nesting, and trying to save scrap metal, this is another challenge. You don't want to waste any metal because steel is very expensive, right?
Sure.
And so you're trying to maximize your yield, and you don't want any scrap. Your nesting, if there's a little bit of spare area, I'll just make a few extra bits of whatever I need. Well, whatever I need. Hopefully I need it on the rest of the sheet metal for later because I don't want to waste that sheet. Straight away, you're making someone wait because you don't actually need those bits right now. You're just saving metal. So the punch program takes longer. So those 4 verticals are sitting on the sheet, but there was a bit of extra space, so I've made a few feet or brackets or whatever for something else because I don't want to waste any metal. And all that punching program could take another 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
And you're waiting. You're just making someone wait. And you may in a month's time actually throw that in the scrap bin. You mightn't even need it. This is the challenge.
I think just those examples, Jimmy. Every time I've caught up with you, I've seen you present it at national conferences, right, on some of your agile Scrum type approaches that you've been involved in, and I'm sure it's coming through strong for all our listeners here. Jimmy is not just the theoretical, and he's read about it and he's watched a heap of videos and things like that. Like, he's actually trying this stuff and delivering the results repeatedly and rapidly, and that's why whenever I'm in your neck of the woods, I'll call in and just see what's he up to now. I think there's a really great tie-in with so not only the waiting for the materials or the product to get that first batch to the customer, that first part of the complete order, so you can invoice them too. You can clip the ticket a little bit more regularly, so your cash flow flows through. One of the things when I was getting my head around this batch and queue, the first thing was, just someone giving you the permission to try, which is amazing. And then if you actually see whether it works or not, then you know what you know. The content and the awareness that you're giving your people there to get on and do it, that's one of the things where I go around and I can see that it's not all Jimmy doing it and making it look good for the lean tours that he runs through the place, right? Like, it's a really nice sign where someone says, hang on a minute, can you explain to Andy what you're doing here? Like, half the time you don't really know what they're doing. You're just seeing the results, and it's here. I'll catch up with you. And you can show me what you did.
Yeah, exactly. That's what really gets me excited. What I say blows my hair back. What's left of it is when I find out about all the cool stuff that's happening and I don't even know about it. Like, you find out about it secondhand and go, wow, that's epic. That's an awesome. Like, I had one of our engineers come and talk to me yesterday about a system that he set up that automates what's gone wrong in the factory and automatically sends the emails to the correct departments around what's going on. So we got direct feedback about things that are going wrong in the factory and going to the right people. And he's just gone and developed this thing, and it's got all this data around what are most of our problems. And he said, James, that Pareto thing you told me about? Well, all our issues are coming from doors and this. and assembly instructions. If we fix those two things, 80% of our issues would be gone. I go, yes. It's just that's it's yeah. That's when you know it's working, right? You can.
So yeah, and what you're talking about, we started talking about batching, but something as simple as batching and being folded into a way of thinking and a mode of thinking and how we're working and trying to find the more efficient ways of doing things, trying to find the things that make it easier, better, faster, and cheaper. Incorporating and giving ownership to those that are doing the work, but also you mentioned, talking with leaders and getting leadership on board that, hey, this does make sense. Let me give you some examples. So you showed us some examples, of some of those things, and you've showed us how this plays into your overall perspective on how we want to do it with that that handbook. I love seeing these things and seeing how they all play out. But I want us to slow down and to back up just a little bit with a little bit of time that we have left. And for those that don't have that pamphlet and that workbook, for those that don't necessarily have the leadership behind this kind of thing, but they have heard this, they're listening, and they're going, okay, so I could see where we do a lot of batching. But Andy, you mentioned not all batching is bad, but when it comes to all you're doing is just localized efficiency, and then down the line or upstream, even if I'm just going to focus on localized efficiency, it may really cob up the works, right? For some things, batching actually stops the flow and stops the work. So where is a place? How do people start with this, Jimmy? When someone wants to reduce some batching in where they work or in their organization, where can they start, and how can they improve with maybe smaller batches like you did? I mean, you didn't stop doing batching. You just went from 200 batches to what
Yep.
made more sense and actually moved the flow into 36 batches. Now that was a great
Yeah.
example. What are some other things that people might be able to do? Send us home with some action that we can, just like you said, an awareness isn't any good if there's no action to it. So give
Yeah.
us some action
Yeah.
that our listeners and watchers may be able to do.
Yeah. So there's batching and flow. So we're always trying to think about flow. So this is going to sound strange, but we actually implemented a batching activity at a point in time because we had a bottleneck, and everyone's going, "What the hell are you doing? This is not good. You're saying batching's bad. Now we're doing some batching."
Right.
And I can tell you it was very interesting because all the symptoms you get with batching, we found it, and it was an issue, but it was one of those things where we were trying to strike a balance to create flow, and we had a bottleneck in the punching cell. Since then, we fixed it and we bought another punch. So we've got 3 punches now. We added 30% capacity to our punching. We're back in balance, bottleneck addressed. Happy days.
Right.
But at that time, we had a massive demand in manufacturing. And I sat down with the team. We were discussing it, going, you know what? The only way we're going to overcome this bottleneck is to punch ahead and have some punch parts ready. So this is, I guess, why I'm talking about this is there's always a tension. There's always this. Sure. You've always got to be thinking about the flow and how to deliver to the customer and how to overcome the issue.
Yes.
And leverage all the tools and knowledge that the team has to try and take advantage however you can. So we actually had a small shift, a couple of people punching at night, ready for the day because we knew the punching cell couldn't keep up. But the classic happened where doors for us take a long time to punch. They're the longest program. So we tried to work out what we were going to focus on to punch at night to overcome the bottleneck. Now, luckily our MES, our manufacturing execution system, is absolutely brilliant. The team at SRA they blow my mind. So I'll have to show you one day, but the system is incredible. It's a bespoke system designed by the team in-house, and they can see we've literally got a heat map on where the bottlenecks are on the cells for the various products, and we've literally got a different product coming through the line, one after the other. We'll have a black rack, a white rack, one with red and blue doors, one with the green one. It's literally like the Toyota factory. Although, I mean, that's our lights on the hill. It's not that.
Yeah,
It's not. We wish it was, but that's our lights on the hill. But so what we did was we did make some. We produced and punched ahead, but it did become an issue. And all the things you read about, we punched too many one night, so we lost count because we were stacking them up on a trolley, and you've got that batching issue again. And
right.
instead of making 20 doors, we made 30, and then we had to throw 10 in the bin. However, that's part of the cost of the speed. So we were happy to accept that and try to really tightly manage it.
Yeah.
And the good thing is everyone knew it was bad, and everyone knew that it required special attention and focus, because where do you put them? Like, the factory isn't designed for it. So you make the 20 doors, 30 doors, whatever you want to make at night. Where do you put them? There's no trolley for that because we're set up for single piece flow. We don't want whip. So it needs a special sign on it. It needs special communication. We had, a stack of parts fall off a bench and got bent one day, and threw them all in the bin. But we achieved our goal, and we knew it was only temporary, and it was actually a good experience for the team. It's because it reminded us about all the reasons why we don't do batching. Because it was so hard to manage. There was so much waste, but we did at that time address the bottleneck and delivered the products on time, but it was at a cost. We know it wasn't the most efficient way to do it, but we achieved the speed.
Yeah, I think, sorry to accidentally cut in on you there, Jimmy, there before, but yeah, I think for me the key message out of that is you made it visible, where things are at, that system you've got that makes it visible where the bottleneck is, and sometimes you actually have to flog that bottleneck to get it to or you have to poke the system hard to get it to really stir up and go, yeah, it's there, all right, because we have this hypothesis, we think about, I think it's in there, but we actually may need to make this worse to really get it to stick its head right up over the parapet and we can get it. So I think that's one of the things I find is great with you as well as and your approach is making things visible. So my last moment around flow for me is around the information to the teams down, up and across the organisation. So would you prefer to do a 15-minute daily check-in with the team every day and look at some real numbers and data? Or would you rather just wait and see what the boss says when he gets the end of month report and then it's all too late? You batch the whole month of the business and then we'll let you know how we went. Like that's a killer. Whereas the daily focus, getting rid of that monthly batch of performance into a daily or shiftly type thing, when you're going really well and you can find out why that is and keep going. And the other bit is if it's starting to go bad, you grab it. So Jimmy, again, we'll definitely have you on again. It's just one of those things, but I'm just really thankful that you've got on. That's my final words. So I'm thinking where I'm landing with that is the flow of materials, your improvement, your culture and your information. And it's not one or the other in mind for what I've seen that you're delivering down there to SRA.
Right.
Solutions in the wonderful town of Queanbeyan, or city. Sorry if that offends the Queanbeyans, whatever you call yourselves down there. Shayne, over to you, my friend. What do you got?
Well, I want to just wrap that question up just so people, because it was kind of drawn out. So what I heard to wrap up the question, what can people do to reduce batching? One, I loved what you said hey, this is about flow. It's really not about batching. Batching is just where we may focus, but it's about flow. I picked up on that pretty strongly. And so how can we reduce batching? Let's look at the flow. Where does the flow stop? Let's make it visible. Let's push it where it can be pushed so that we can see where it's visible, and then we can adjust. And as Andy just mentioned, the frequency of the visibility is super important. Okay, so let's pay attention to flow. Let's make everything visible, and let's pay attention to where are those bottlenecks, because that's where batching really harms us, is where it produces bottlenecks. We don't want that kind of individual efficiency or localized efficiency. We want to be looking at the whole system and how this works. So I have really enjoyed this, Jimmy. The stories are as fascinating as the topic of trying to figure out hey, batching, bad, good, when, no, all of those kind of things. This conversation can easily be continued. But Andy, I'm going to let you bring us home. Jimmy, thanks so much for being here too.
Absolutely pleasure. And just quickly, the way the trust we have from the board and shareholders to be able to do all this, and we are also empowered to do all this, and we're able to make mistakes and learn. So we've really set up a fantastic culture. It really does come down to that culture and empowerment of everyone to learn and improve, and trusting in everyone to do the right thing. So it's really it's really a great place to work.
Love it.
Great wrap up. Yeah, success breeds success. You get confidence of the board by delivering. All right, and people hanging around or people wanting to come and work for you. There's something magic in all of that. And at the end of the day, Jimmy's got a key role to play. So, mate, thanks again for coming on. I love the saying that he has is give it a crack. All right. So I'm not talking Catherine, our Northern Irish friend. It's not crack as in whatever that means over there, sorry. But yeah, give it a crack means give it a go. So for anyone listening there, if you want to catch up with Jimmy, we'll put all of his contact details in the show notes. And if you have a specific question for Jimmy or where you want him to take it next, certainly reach out and he'd be happy to chat to you. So Jimmy, good on you, mate. And I really look forward to catching up with you again soon. Shayne, pleasure as always. And Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on the next episode of the Lean Solutions podcast. Have a great day.